That's right. Thank you, Austin. I'm joined by former NPR ombudsman and visiting professor Alicia Shepard. Thank you for being with us, Alicia. She teaches classes in interviewing and media ethics. Today, we are going to talk about ethics in sports reporting. So, Alicia, I just want to ask you, how do you think the media handles sports scandals like that of Lance Armstrong's drug enhancement use and Manny Te'o's girlfriend,
Well, there are two really different things. One, Lance Armstrong repeatedly lied to the media and looked them right in the eye. And so, there's not much they can do. I mean, the media stayed on that story and kept coming back, and Armstrong kept lying until he finally stopped. With Manny Te'o, that was a real fall down on the part of the media. I mean, there are just so many things that don't make sense in terms of, it was almost like, oh, we want this story to be true, so we're not going to check it out. And that's, we always say, if your mother loves you, says she loves you, check it out. Well, the joke was in that one was, if you think you have a mother, go to the courthouse and check it out to make sure, because that was way over the top and not doing due diligence.
Definitely. How do you think Katie Couric handled the interview with Manny Te'o?
I think it was a good get for her, and I think that she kept bringing back to the really, and voicing the questions that we all had, like, really, you believe that? You really thought that this avatar of a girlfriend actually existed?
Yeah, definitely. And also Oprah. I know she interviewed Lance Armstrong about her drug enhancement performance. How do you think she handled it? Because I know they are friends as well.
I thought she was actually very good. I teach a class on interviewing. I say never ask yes or no questions. But in that case, she was very specific about, did you do this? So that he didn't have any wiggle room. The answer were yes or no, and he said yes.
Do you think there's an ethical issue because Lance Armstrong and Oprah are friends?
That the only ethical issue would be that the public needed to know that. I actually didn't know that. So that's the kind of disclosure that says, okay, I'm watching this. I know that Lance and Oprah are friends. So if it looks like she's going easy on him, okay, that's why. Otherwise, if you just take it for what it was in terms of a great interview with someone that you really wanted to hear from when he was finally saying, I lied.
Yeah, definitely. And I know me and you were talking earlier about Mike Weiss, the reporter who actually changed something in his tweet. If you guys don't know, he actually changed his tweet to make sure that other people were not copying him, but they found out there was.
He was also, his real goal was to just show what a low level of accuracy of the standard is for tweeting, that people will just pick up tweets, repeat stuff without checking it out. And that's the media's job, to say, this information we've checked out and it's true. And so in this case, it had to do with Ben Roethlisberger, and that he had been told he was going to sit out 6 games. And Mike Weiss of the Washington Post, longtime sports writer, tweeted 5 games, and everybody picked that up. And that shows, I mean, Mike Weiss was suspended, as well he should be, because the job of a news organization is to put out facts, the truth. He didn't. But it also does, his point was made that people just repeat information, particularly on Twitter. And when I say people, I'm talking about journalists. And
yes.
Journalists need to check out information. Twitter's a tip sheet, just the same way if someone called you on the phone and said, we hear that. You wouldn't just turn around and put that in the front page of the newspaper. You'd call, you'd check it out.
Definitely. Do you think he was wrong in doing that?
Wow, that's a good question, because I kind of think, go Mike Weiss, you proved exactly what is going on. On the other hand, he misinformed his readers, and that is, they're trusting him. So, wow, I definitely can see both sides of that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm going to change the topic a bit. How do you think the media handled the Boston Marathon bombing?
Boy, I wrote a book about how journalists handled 9/11, particularly on that day, and that was very reminiscent of that. You can fault the media for a lot of the mistakes. I think the most egregious was the New York Post. But in general, there's a compromise that has to be made. The public is demanding information. They want to know this as fast as possible. And it's just not possible for the media to do that. So you really have to think about the context that they are operating in on the first day during breaking news. So to me, I look at it, everybody else was running away from the bomb site and journalists were running toward it, and that's what journalists do. So I say kudos to those journalists.
Yes, definitely. That is a hard subject to cover, as you guys all know. And I also wanted to ask you about the women in sports as well. How do you think women athletes are treated by the media?
I think there's still a bit of a kind of fascination with really, really great female athletes, and they're kind of like, wow, look at her. I think overall, I mean, look at the sort of the coverage of the WNBA. I told you I was concerned about Brittany Griner, who is, you know, a Baylor superstar, in fact, first woman drafted in the WNBA. And there was a profile of her in the New York Times, and they're talking about her sexuality, like, well, she isn't really feminine, as though you have to be a great athlete and be feminine. I found that actually kind of offensive.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We could talk about this all day.
That's
but
true.
Our time is up now. Time now for our first break. But when we come back, Austin sits down with UNLV Sports Production Coordinator, Kim Alexander. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Time now to send it over to Austin, who is sitting down with Dan Grimes, our UNLV TV engineer. Thank you, Donald. I definitely got to check out that Festival of Communities soon.
So you go play a little tutorial of tennis? And
Yes, Alex was actually my coach, and he is actually a really good coach. You know, his accent makes it a little more funner. I got a little bit of learning the ropes, you know. I learned about the forehand, the backhand swing. It was actually pretty fun.
very enjoyable experience.
And I'm Bianca Valdez. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, have a good evening, Las Vegas.